welcome to TheAIbumMan. And today, well, certainly at the time of recording this, it is the 21st of December 2012, which means it is 3 years since the sad passing away of David Gold, the songwriter, singer, drummer and guitarist of the fantastic band Woods of Ypres. So, in his memory, today we're going to talk about the final album that was ever released to feature him, which of course is Woods of Ypres 5, Grey Skies and Electric Light. It really is so easy to overhype a musician after their death, to give them more praise than you would have done if they were alive, which eerily is one of the key themes of this album. And David Gold died before this album actually saw the light of day. I mean, he told us in Adora Vivos, which means love living, how you shouldn't wait till death to sing his praise, but unfortunately I have no choice, as I only became aware of the band after Gold's passing. Not because of his passing, but I just happened to come across the band. I listened to them, thought they were awesome, decided to go on their website, see maybe if they were touring, and of course they weren't. I instead found out that David Gold was dead. Again, as I said, it's easy to get swept up with a musician's death and overpraise and worship them unnecessarily, and with this review, I'm certainly going to try my absolute hardest not to. I really have no wish to do that, but I honestly don't believe that his death changes how high I rate this album. The reason I wanted to talk about this album is because, yes, it's one of my favourite albums of all time. I think it's an absolute masterpiece, and I'm going to praise the living hell out of it, but I really feel that that's irrespective of his death, that this album is a perfect 10. Truly disregarding everything outside of this album itself. Just take this album as a whole, and I think it's a metal masterpiece, and this is why. Lightning and Snow is the first track on the album. It really is a song that lives up to its names. When you hear the blistering metal riffing, it is as if a flash of lightning is just going straight through your body. It's one of those songs that when you hear the intro, you can just tell this album, it's going to be something, as the sound builds and builds with a clear black metal influence. But yeah, it's not a major part of the album, as Woods of Ypres, if you don't know, on this album certainly can be classified as a blackened doom metal band hailing from Ontario, I believe. And yeah, definitely a black and doom thing, I would say. And they add texture and depth, as when it gets to the verse you can hear a cello behind, and the band are truly masterful at creating a layered, exciting record, and it really is what Woods of Ypres do best. Every time you listen to this album and this song, you hear just something slightly different in the mist of the black and doom metal even sounds. This song, especially considering the genre, is ridiculously melodic, and this is what really piqued my personal interest in the band initially. The catchy riffs and chorus were just some of the best of 2012 just in this song, and yet I wouldn't even say this is the best on the album. Death Is Not an Exit comes next, and the lyrics here in this song are genuinely, I would say, fantastic. It's a secular chord telling you that, well, death is not an exit, death is a flick of the off switch, and I couldn't agree more with this sentiment. I think there's a beauty about the simplicity here of that. And let's also talk a little more just about the vocals and the style of vocals you can really expect in this album if you're not familiar with it. And definitely don't be put off by the black metal tag that this band gets, as through most of the album, certainly the vast majority, the vocals are clean, and Gold's baritone voice, think sort of like typo negative type, deep baritone. It's able to convey subtle emotion, but when he does go into harsher vocals, it's able to be as aggressive as hell. Now, it doesn't sound, you know, like a dark throne vocal or something like that. No, it's still understandable, the words, just a harsher way of singing the words, honestly. And what really lifts his vocals throughout the album is really a production thing. They appear to be double-tracked. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I can definitely hear double tracking on this, which works really brilliantly. And the double tracking is quite interesting because it's of him singing the lines in a low, deep baritone way, and then also singing a harmony above them in a higher octave. And it creates a very interesting effect of these low, dark vocals, but yet also emotive and slightly delicate. It's an interesting thing. What really takes this song to the next level is the use of cello and also Joel Violette's guitar solo, again, which is very melodic and fitting. Keeper of the Ledger. This riff definitely showcases some real doom elements to it, yet also ups the ante of the vocals at the same time, creating sublime balance between Gold's harsh vocals, which, as I said before, are very accessible and very understandable for those relatively new to the black metal genre. And this was definitely one of the first albums with black metal influence I ever got into. It's a fantastic introduction to the genre of black metal for me, because I'm not a big fan of black metal vocals, but I really loved his emotive cleans. And this balancing use of dynamics is shown in the verse, as this song is really quite heavy there, whereas in the chorus you get this lighter sort of melancholic section. It's all executed with sheer ease. I mean, Woods of Ypres were one of the best bands, in my opinion, to really pull this off, and it's executed flawlessly throughout the album, from the piano to the heavy distortion-laden guitars and the melodic though dark, grim lyrics poignantly sung by a man who, well, has had nature come calling for. And the sheer blunt way in which it is delivered is just as true as day, but certainly never an easy message to take in. I do find Travelling Alone to be one of the most introspective and emotionally engaging songs on the record, with lyrics which yet again I honestly cannot help but point out and draw attention to. Well, David Gold's lyrics in the past, particularly on the Green album, were sometimes criticised for perhaps being, well, I suppose some people said he's been a bit whiny in his lyricism. And what I enjoyed the lyricism over 4, I definitely say he took a step up with 5. I would say lyrically, again, some people have even criticised the lyrics here for maybe being, they're not very reliant on metaphors, it's quite simple and to the point, but I find that quite refreshing. I find that, to be honest, the sheer blunt nature and point of his messages, I feel that they are accentuated from him conveying it in a more simplistic way. You know, you don't have to, it's not like Bob Dylan where you have to read into the lyrics 5,000 times to understand what the hell he's saying. With here, on the first time, you can understand it. And I don't see that as, well, a problem. I still find the lyricism to be philosophical, insightful, and still poetic. Just because it's not poetic in an orthodox way necessarily doesn't mean it doesn't have those qualities, and especially considering how poignant and haunting his lyricism truly is. And Travelling Alone to me is a wonderful example of that. God tells us about how he cannot believe in a God himself, but yet would not strip others of their faith and exchange their joy with my bleak view, as he said. And as an atheist myself, not only do these words resonate with me, but I also find the message of tolerance is definitely an important one among them. Musically, though, this isn't more a downbeat affair, travelling at lower speeds than some of the other songs, since the creation of a melancholic atmosphere really is paramount to this track. The sombre, mellower tones of the orchestration blend with Gold's clean vocals and overwhelm you, frankly. A dark, though beautiful piece. With a different tenor, Adora Vivos hits you immediately with David's blast beat drumming and black metal riffing speed, anger and a frenzied nature before it all slows down for the vocals. This song incorporates some of the heaviest black metal elements on the album. I would say this is the heaviest song on the album, though still with clean vocals predominantly. Again, some awesome lyricism on the album and very strong songwriting, and the chorus as well creates honestly what I would say is the best song on the album. No doubt this is heart-wrenchingly full of sorrow and honestly very difficult to listen to now that he is gone. What makes this darker than usual is really the hindsight, as he sings emphatically, you shouldn't worship the dead, and also to love the living while they're still alive. It's crushing, unrepentantly bleak, yet infectiously catchy, and that to me surmises why I love Woods of Ypres and why I adore this album. This song truly encapsulates my love of the band, from the harsher vocals in one of the verses, the cleans, the melody, the crushing riffs, the speed, the just so much change throughout one 5-minute song. They achieve so much and take you on a journey that many bands would take 20-30 minutes to take you on. They condense it down to 5 minutes. It's not that complex. This is no progressive metal epic, but yeah, it just achieves everything. There really is a reason why this album is a tremendous step up from Woods 4, and that's because, well, 4 stepped up the majority of the songwriting musical depth from their earlier, more black metal orientated albums. This album just takes it up another 10 notches. Woods 4 could feel a little samey since it was 17 minutes of doom and depression. It's still an album I absolutely adore. I'm genuinely not trying to slander it. But with 5, there appears to be more variety, and the groovy, hook-laden Silver is a superb example of this, particularly as it's followed by the lighter song on the album, the fun Career Suicide Is Not Real Suicide, which wears its black metal influences on its sleeve with the unbelievably low-pitched baritone verses, all culminating in a bombastic chorus, the lead guitar melodies of Joel punctuating the song, adding that extra flavour and dimension. Again, the newfound depth of the band is shown even on the lighter notes of the album, such as Career Suicide, which definitely, I mean, you know, again, it's hardly some indie pop band, but for Woods of Ypres, this is about as light as it's going to get, to be honest. Modern Life Architecture is an all-out doom song, really, with both the piano and guitars ringing out beside one another. And highlight here has to be, very much again, the use of double-track vocals. I praised this before, but it needs to be praised again. The lower growls and higher vocals, just the harmonisation is utterly stunning, and definitely comes together to create a very intense sound. Again, more monolithically gloomy gothic riffs drive the song forwards, though it really is the next track that, in the same vein as this, truly knocks your socks off. Kiss My Ashes Goodbye, the epic doom masterpiece that is one of the culminations of all the pain expressed in his heartfelt lyrics, and yet again seems to contain foreknowledge of his own demise as he sings Kiss My Ashes Goodbye. This song is split into 2 parts, each distinct from the other, but still feeling coherent, with the lyrical motif running throughout, but with varying riffs taking the song on its course, and doing it in both parts, while again going together really to form the same track, definitely feeling very slightly different from one another. I definitely do feel that there's a different tone between them, the first half being faster and more direct, while the second has more of a reliance on cellos, but also on harsher vocals, creating perhaps a grimmer, a slower, but also heavier one, culminating in one of the best guitar solos on the album, featuring some very tasteful, not too indulgent tapping. This is 10 minutes of hell, but yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way. The finale, consisting of, well, finality and alternate ending, is easily the most profound part of the album, and you could even say the creepiest, with Gold's foreshadowing lyrics going that extra step further to almost a new level. Finality is a soft, piano-driven affair, with an orchestrated accompaniment, though the focus is firmly on Gold's painfully introspective lyrics, and delivered by his vocals wonderfully. The song feels like a sublime ending for the album. It really could easily have stopped right there, but no. Gold instead has to put us through one of the most gut-wrenching songs on the album, in fact possibly the most, Alternate Ending, with lyrics such as "Back on the highway under the moon, my final moment, still wondering about you." And considering he died in a road accident, that lyric is a little too weird and scarily prophetic. Honestly though, it wasn't just David Gold's death that came too quickly, it was the band's as well. With Woods of Ypres 5, Grey Skies and Electric Light, they hit their creative peak. This is the final album every artist dreams of, but it was just too early in their career. It's 10 out of 10, I said that before, it's a masterpiece. I cannot find fault. It's a peerless work of black and doom metal. In fact, it's one of the greatest doom albums I've ever heard in my life. It's one of the most effective at creating a gloomy atmosphere, yet also with such melody, such difference between the dynamics of the heaviness and the light. It's everything I loved about metal, really, and it's just brilliant. As David Gold said in Adora Vivos, how the dead are to be forgotten and we're here to be adored. Well, the only thing I have to say in response to that is, how can we forget the dead when they're as talented as him, when they're as talented as David Gold? This is my moment of respect to David Gold, and not one moment